Hi, I'm Sergio from Intellivision Brazil, and you're watching Papa Pete, the old guy gamer.
If you haven't grown up by the age of 50, you don't have to. If you haven't grown up by the age of 50, you don't have to.
Hello! What's going on? Oh my God, Slappy's videos are getting friggin' better all the time. I love that.
That was great.
Right on, guys. So, guys, here we are live. Jeff and I, as usual, but we got a special guest today who you usually see in the chat, and that's Kraig Finstad. Welcome, Kraig. Thanks for being here with us this week.
Sure, thanks. Good to be here.
I've seen Kraig's, and I'll call you Greg 1,000 times. We've seen Kraig's name in the credits of many games because Kraig is one of the people, I will say, one of the more active Intellivision homebrew testers in the community nowadays. There are a few people who do a lot of it, but Kraig, you do a lot of it, don't you?
I do, yeah. I know that there's some. I think Benville was asking. I think it's over 20 games I've been involved with.
Oh wow, that's amazing. You know, there's something to be said, and we'll get into it more as we go on. But there's going to be an art to it, and there's a reason that programmers or publishers and programmers are going to come to you to give them the information they need because you have a good skill at doing it and a knack for doing it, an aptitude, I guess the best way to put it. And obviously they recognize that, and you're a big help to them. So it's a wonderful thing, and it's got to be somewhat a bit of an honor that they keep coming back over and over and over again. Yeah,
definitely. It's nice. It's nice to be recognized. It's good to be part of the homebrew scene this way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy it, and I think that it does us help. It's good to get that kind of work done.
Yeah.
Testing is important, and not everybody does it, so it's good to work with people who really care about that level of quality, and I think it shows in the. Yeah, we have really high quality releases in the homebrew community, so I think it's
part, and the testers are a huge part of that because that's how the games get refined to the way they are when we get them, and so that's fine. Otherwise, there might be lots of problems with them. But anyway, before we get going, guys, take a look at the chat. Who do we have here tonight, Jeff? We got all kinds of the regulars, of course.
A lot of people here.
First, awesome, love to hear that. Benvril is here first. Hit the likes. Thank you very much. And of course, Kraig just hit the question. And Kraig and I were talking. We saw that ahead of time. And Kraig said, Benvril asked me that last week in the chat. And I said, wait till next week to find out. And Benvril, you got your answer. So that's awesome. Junebug is here. Great to see you, Junebug. Junebug just had a birthday. What? No, I guess it's been a couple weeks now since Junebug had a birthday, right?
Yeah, about 10 days, I think.
Happy birthday anyway. Happy belated birthday anyway, Junebug. Scrolling down here, Kurt Bradshaw is here. Seeing Kurt have all kinds of posts on Facebook with all the television homebrews he's picking up. Great collection there, Kurt. Scrolling down, Salvatore is here. Bagman himself, the pride and joy of Portland, Oregon. Torso is here. How's married life treating you anyway, Torso? I gotta ask. I really do, you know. It's like I hate to get into this soon, but how do you not do it? Yeah, here we go. Just for 10 seconds.
I really do.
Just brings a tear to your eye every time you see it, I swear.
Sure does.
Mike Rose is her. He's her.
Tommy Her.
Tommy Her. Tommy Her was a good ball player.
One of my favorites.
There you go. What was the guy who hit the triple? What's his name again? I can never remember his name.
David Freese.
David Freese. You've told me that story umpteen times, and I vaguely remember watching it back in the day. But the Cardinals are playing quite well right now, aren't they? Better than you expected. Yes,
they're not
they
expected,
are.
but they're not very good now.
They're over 500.
Yeah, that's nothing to be proud of.
They didn't just deal their best home run hitter for a bag of chips and a box of practice balls. I shouldn't say that. That's not a nice thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete, is Coco okay?
Coco's wonderful.
I haven't seen Coco move in a while.
Hey.
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Ooh, that's relief.
All right, scrolling down. Everybody saying hello to each other. That's great. Who's still here? Mark is here. Good to see you, Mark. And
Hey, Mark.
There is Luke.
Oh, hi, Luke.
We'll probably be using your name in vain a few times during this show. I would suspect, Luke, carte blanche to show anything that you want. So we were having that conversation before we come on, so that's great. So Kraig will probably show a few games that he's worked on over the last few weeks. And of course, I've had a couple of announcements from Luke just over the last few days. And I wanted to get that Road Fighter announcement out. Man, that game is smooth. I wanted to get that announcement out before we did this, because I wanted Kraig to really show that a little bit, talk about that game some. So you guys get a look at it, because that's going to be a good seller for Intellivision Collector. Great releases. Intellivision Collector, the stalwart of the Intellivision Homebrew Community. Okay, CC Mental is here. Well, I thought she was here, but yeah, there she is. Okay,
There it is.
she's here. Who else we got here? Let's go. Still scrolling. Holy cow! Everybody's saying hello back and forth. Am I missing anything? Kraig.
I just had some family members join.
Hey, that's all right. You point them out when it comes to them. Kraig's name is in the manual for Montezuma's Revenge. So we'll be looking at that game a little bit today too, possibly. Yes, absolutely, Benvril. Healthy homebrew community. And speaking of homebrew community, there's Carlos Madruga. Great to see you, Carlos.
Okay, Carlos.
Glad you're here. Done a lot of work with Carlos too, have you not, Kraig?
Have, definitely.
Right on. Love to hear it. Who am I missing here? Jeff Davis. IR Geek is here. Of course, IR Geek is one of the newest members of the Coco crew. That's the membership for the channel. You got a few guys in the Running Men and the Coco crew. So CC Mental also in the Coco crew. Which you can't believe she's cackling at her own cackle. I could believe it. Yes, Road Fighter looks like Spy Hunter for the INTV, but it is Road Hunter, Road Fighter. Road Fighter was the game back in the day. It's a different game than Spy Hunter. They just look kind of like, so you never know. You may see Spy Hunter someday too. You never know. Torso is a member of the Running Men, and I think I'm down to the bottom of the list. So, wow, that's great. Great turnout. Thank you all for being here. As you can tell, Coco is extraordinarily excited that you guys are all here. She almost moved a few minutes ago. I didn't even have to touch her. But anyway, Kraig, we'll get that off the screen here. Jeff will be watching the chat, guys. And if you have questions as we're going through things, by all means, type them in. If we do miss them, don't be afraid to type them in again afterwards, but Jeff will star them. So maybe we will actually have a spot at the end, towards the end, definitely for you guys to ask any more questions of Kraig. But by all means, please, if they're on topic, please send them as you go, and we'll either get back to them or we'll deal with them right then and there. Sound good, Kraig?
Yeah, sounds great.
Right on. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about Intellivision. How'd you get into Intellivision? Do you have a background, like
an origin story?
Yeah, the origin story, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So first Intellivision experience was at my grandparents' house. They got one when it was very new.
Oh yeah.
I think this is 1980, probably, and they had a couple games for it. I think they had skiing and maybe something else, but they had Space Battle on it, which I really it was amazing to me, and it's still such a great game. I mean, it still holds up. And back then, this is long before I knew that it was supposed to be a Battlestar Galactica game at some point, but it looked so much like one. It's like, oh, those are Cylon Raiders. That's so cool to see this on the screen. It was the next best thing to having TIE fighters on the screen back then.
Yeah.
So we just kind of, as a family, started getting really interested in it. And then we got a system the following Christmas. And so we got games like Space Battle, and my dad was really into the sports games. He would like the skiing, and the whole family loved the bowling game. So we played bowling together, and it really did have that family feel that they were kind of known for. And and we haven't really seen too much since, except for maybe the Wii, I think.
Yeah, the Wii a little bit.
But it was great. Everybody loved it, and it was a great family activity, and I just got hooked on it right away. And the graphics for 1980 were amazing. And even like you guys have the bowling league, and I watched that, and I'm just amazed at how they nailed the physics of the balls back in 1979.
And then as great a game as that was for David to take, like I say 1,000 times over, David Harley, Intellivision, taking great games and making them even better, right? But just tweaking, like you said. It is amazing. And I get a kick out of listening to you say that about bowling, especially because back when I was a kid, bowling on the Intellivision was, I did it with my brother-in-law started. And I got to add this too. One of the first things I thought was really cool. How cool is it that it was your grandparents' game?
Yeah.
How old were you?
10.
Okay, so you're not much younger than me.
No,
but that's just so cool that it's your grandparents. I mean, I was expecting father, you hear fathers, brother-in-law, blah 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 blah, like that. But you're the first person I've heard say grandparents. I think that's really neat. And then your parents should. So really, 3 generations.
Yes.
But when we get together as a group, the game that people who didn't play other games played, it was bowling.
Understandable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it was so well done.
So, other than bowling and Space Battle, were there any other favorites that you had back then?
Yeah, tons. The one you just taught Jeff, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, was probably one of my top favorites. Burger Time was probably my second favorite. I'm thinking back in terms of what I played the most and what I still play today.
Right.
That's sort of a sort of a gauge on what my favorites were. I think Night Stalker's up there too. That one was one that I played and sort of mastered way back then. So it was, but we had horse racing, but I never got into horse racing.
Right.
Had the space games like Astro Smash and Space Armada, Space Hawk, Dreadnought Factory. Oh, and Star Strike, right?
Star Strike,
which frustrated me then and frustrates me now. That perspective and when they're light green you can hit them and it doesn't really work, and it was disappointing, but
it was different. Now I just used to talk about Star Strike. I can remember the Star Strike was sort of we throw some stories back and forth. That was a game that all of a sudden my brother-in-law invited me over on Friday night. I was probably in grade like 8 or 9. Hey, come on over, stay over Friday night, we'll play some television. And then we played a couple of games, and then all of a sudden he said, get up for a second. And it's so funny. I get up. He lifted up the couch cushion where I was sitting, and he had bought Star Strike that day. I was sitting on it, and it was completely flat, but nobody gave a crap about condition. Hey, we can play Star Strike, and we started playing Star Strike.
That's a great story.
The reason it was so cool at the time is it was the trench run, right? But Star Wars Arcade was big. Like we go to Bangor, Maine for the weekend, whatever, and the Starport, Spaceport in the mall, the arcade there had the sit down Star Wars game. So this was the closest thing you could get to that, right? So cool.
The Vector one, the original Vector one.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I know that was what I thought of Star Strike. It was like Mattel's response to Star Wars Arcade.
Right. I can see that.
Yeah, but it just didn't feel the same. Like what you're saying about, they're supposed to go lighter, then you can hit them and stuff. You couldn't hit them that easily.
Yeah, I mean, it's a math game, not a collision detection game.
Yeah, there you go.
Perspective, and that's part of the problem. It makes it really, really challenging.
Now, are there any of the games from back in the day? This is a tough question, although I gave you the note ahead of time, anyways. You might have thought about it a little bit. That everybody has their favorite games, which you tell somebody this is one of my favorite games, and they go, "What?" And then you explain why, because it's a game that has a certain nostalgic feel for nostalgic for you. Do you have any games that are sort of unusual that are your favorites, but more for nostalgic reasons than anything else?
Two from a certain memory. You have like the Star Strike story. My version of that is when in 1983, I guess, when Burger Time was coming out.
Yeah.
And I really wanted that as a birthday present. And it hinted at it. I really want this one game, et cetera, et cetera. And then birthday comes around, and you know what it's like when you're a kid and you get a box that sure looks like what you really wanted, right? It's a cartridge-sized box that's present, that's wrapped, but it's the size of an Intellivision cartridge. So I think, okay, this is it, and I open it up, and it's not it. It's Pitfall. Oh, okay.
Okay.
And Pitfall's fine. It's a great game, and I was interested to play it because I'd heard so much good things about it, but it wasn't Burger Time. And I grew up in a small town in Northern California with no arcades. We had the occasional game at a pizza parlor or something. So having on the Intellivision, the idea of having like a good arcade game at home was a big deal. And that's why one of the reasons I really wanted that. And that's why I still have affection for things like Lock and Chase or Bump and Jump, right? Those are like, hey, these are the Intellivision arcade games. Right. So this was Pitfall. Okay, thank you. That's great. But then they saved Burger Time for last.
Was it tucked away somewhere where you wouldn't see it for a while?
No, it was just a surprise at the end. It wasn't under a seat cushion or something.
Okay.
but so those two games, they're not weird games, but I do have nostalgia for those two games because they were my parents really listening to me and really thinking about what I wanted, which was really nice.
That's so cool. And to think, like, when you have a story about the game, I'll be quite frank with the Intellivision games and the Atari games for that matter. I remember about getting a few of them because there's sort of special stories with them. And like Christmas of '82 was amazing, that Star Strike one. But for you to have a story like that, whenever you can remember the story like that, it was special, huh?
Yeah. And I still think about it when I play those games. So.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And that's the best part about the games and why I still love them today too. In a way, memories of childhood, I guess. But who else popped in here? Brian F has popped in. Pierre's popped in. Did I miss anybody, Jeff?
No, I think it's just those two.
Right on. Good to see you guys. Pierre, thank you for being a member, buddy. Let's see. Okay, let's talk about some of the games maybe that you played in recent years, sort of, we'll call it the adult, and we'll get to how you got from the kid Intellivision days to the adult Intellivision days. Let's talk about some of the games maybe that you never get a chance to play back in the day and have in the last few years.
Yeah.
And go, oh my God, I wish I had. I'm talking 125s. They're like, well, I wish I had that back in the day. What?
I know. Yeah. For me, that's games like Tower of Doom and Thunder Castle.
Yes.
When I look back at that, how did I miss this? And part of it is that I just basically in high school switched over to the Commodore 64.
Yeah.
And started playing that, and it's got, it's better graphics, it's bigger games, it's big adventurous games and stuff like that. And it's kind of forgot about Intellivision. I mean, it just wasn't one of those things that I played it for a long time. I wanted to build my library of Commodore games, but looking back after I started getting into Intellivision again, the fact that they made these amazing games in the late 80s or something.
Yeah. Like between 86 and 89.
Yeah. They're so good, and those have become some of my favorites because they're on a platform I love. Yeah. And they're true to their roots, and they just for the day push the limits of the system. It feels to me, and they're fun. They're just a lot of fun too.
They are fun. One of the ones for me as well is like the Activision games I didn't know at all. You had Pitfall. You said I had Pitfall and Stampede for the Atari, but like Dreadnought Factor or Worm Whomper. Man, I love those games now. Mm-hmm. They're both games I could turn on and play and have fun with.
Right.
And I didn't really sincerely even know about them back in the day, and then the ones you're talking about, like Thunder Castle, I was going to say Mystic Castle, Thunder Castle, fantastic. But okay, in '85, I went to university, so I didn't think about Intellivision for a few years, and the only one of those games from that era, from the INTV Core era, that my brother-in-law mail ordered. Remember, that's 3,000 miles across the country. Was Tower Doom. So we did have that, and we played that, but other ones, no. And it's so great now to get the chance to play these games. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Kurt says he got Thunder Castle from a catalog in the 80s. His favorite Intellivision game. Body Slam was another one I had. This is another one. A Body Slam. I have it, of course, but grossly underplayed. I am going to play that. And guys, I have already talked with Steve Ettinger about, like we did with, was it Chip Shot, or we come on and we had a thing on the stream here on a Tuesday night. Ettinger's supposed to come on some night and do Body Slam with me. So I'll hit him up sometime soon. I think I had a conversation with Kraig before we started tonight too. I have all these great ideas of things to do, and it's a matter of getting them all done and to do them, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Body Slam was an awesome game, Kurt. What was that other one that was just up there? Dad acquired, what a Saboteur, just looking real quick. Dad acquired to use the television, so I had 21 games all at once. Only game I bought was Tron Deadly Disc. Well, if you're only going to buy one game, you picked a good one.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. I played that one a lot as a kid too.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
How about Mazatron?
I did not. Nope.
Same.
Yeah.
Tron Deadly Disc, ad nauseum, a lot. Never had Mazatron. Solar Sailor played it a lot, but not Mazatron. It's very strange. I hear a lot of people say that. So what other you started to say about your Commodore 64? You did that? Any other systems or consoles or stuff that you played?
Only as an adult. When everybody I was friends with basically moved from consoles like the Atari 2600 and the Intellivision straight to home computers. So I didn't know anybody with a Colecovision or an Atari 5200 or anything like that, or a Vectrex, right?
Yeah.
As an adult, I got into Vectrex. I really like that. Yeah. That system is a great system. And
it holds up really well. A lot of those, like a lot of the original. How many are there? There's like 58 or something like that games.
I don't remember the number. I have a multi-cart, so I can play any of those.
Gotcha.
But I've bought plenty of the homebrews. There's some great homebrews.
There are a lot of homebrews. There's a lot more homebrews than original, isn't there?
I think so at this point.
Which is stayed with Intellivision now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. So where's the show? What I have here is, did you always play and follow Intellivision through the late 80s? So I'm thinking about the time like when you're done high school and stuff and you go off and you do other things. Did you went into computers? You probably play computers. When did you stop playing Intellivision? And when did you start getting back into it?
I stopped
lose the love for it
in the mid 80s, right? So I never I don't remember games like Tower of Doom coming out because I was kind of moved on. Yeah. I didn't get back into it until 10 years ago or something. I got like a 2609, and I don't remember. From there, I think it was just I would just pick up like lots on eBay. Oh, here's a pack of a couple, and had a game or two I wanted, so I'd get those. And this was long before getting something like an LTO, or I think part of it was I started getting interested in vintage gaming in general, and I was dissatisfied with emulating the Intellivision because of the controller issues.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And I really wanted to play it like I remembered as a kid, so I bought a real system, and it died, and I had to get another one. And so, eventually, I think I have one working 2609, and I've got one working Intellivision 2 that I use for testing. And it's got an ECS with the keyboard and a system changer to play Atari games.
Right.
But yeah, there was a long time where I didn't play Intellivision at all. But I don't know. I think when I think about it, as I started getting more into vintage gaming, the Commodore 64 didn't shine as bright as it did when I was younger. The sound chip is great, but the palette looks kind of muddy to me, and the Intellivision is so vibrant and bright and just fun. And another thing is the Commodore 64 is just, it's hard to just sit down and play it for me, because I have I have one of those modern boxes, like that's an emulator, like a Raspberry Pi inside or something.
Right.
And the setup is remember, did you ever have a Commodore 64?
I played a lot of Commodore 64. Again, my brother-in-law sort of went to Commodore 64 after the Intellivision, and I
So
used
it was
to
a
go over there and play that. And Pool of Radiance on the Commodore 64 was like friggin' amazing.
Yeah, but loading games was either bad or terrible. It was a cassette drive or that horribly slow disk drive. Modern
Yeah.
gaming on a 64 is challenging because you've got to sell these flags and you have to know if it's a NTSC or PAL and you have to put that in there. I can't just sit down and play it. I have to configure it and stuff. So
played a lot at university. It's funny you say that about the load times. That was one of a weird memory about, again, Pool of Radiance, which I have that original Pool of Radiance game up in my room, like with the discs and stuff in it. But it used to be so neat because you would play the game and you'd be going through the dungeon. You know what it looks like? It's just little guys moving.
Yeah.
But when you knew something big was about to happen, is that disk drive would kick in and it would run for about a minute before anything else would happen. So that was a minute of anticipation while you're waiting for the new enemies or the whatever to pop up. So it was just kind of a neat effect of that delay. Now, yes, it's annoying overall, but that's glorifying it. But that was, always remember that. Oh, something's going to happen. The disk drive kicked in. And you literally have to wait for a minute.
Get ready.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. I know that I started, Keith Robinson always sort of seemed to have a presence on the internet. You alluded to earlier about not being satisfied with the emulation. I wasn't either. I mean, as far as I was concerned, yeah, you can emulate Atari 2600, big deal. It's a stick and a button. You can emulate NES because it's 2 buttons and a pad, right? But you couldn't replicate that controller for the Intellivision. But I still used to love in the late 90s, of course, when the internet started, we were into it back in the days. We used to pay $35 for 35 hours of internet access for a month, and you would have 24.4 dial up in the handshake, stuff like that.
Classic sounds.
Keith Robinson had websites on there where you could go, at least you could read about Intellivision and check out all the games. And I learned about a lot of the games and a lot of stuff about that at that time. So I was involved with it, but I wasn't playing it very much. About that time though as well, they gave me their old the Intellivision he had with the 50 or 60 games. I got it for Christmas one year. Still have it sitting right over there, and the games. That's how my collection started. So I never really left it, but I did get into heavily playing it until probably about a little bit after you did, really.
Okay.
Yeah. That's so cool. But absolutely. So it's one thing to start playing the games again and collecting the games again and getting back into it, but how did you get involved in the Intellivision community as you have, and especially the Intellivision Homebrew Community? Because I'm sure that'd be kind of like a osmosis. You get involved and interested in the Intellivision community, and the Homebrew community just sort of all blends together with the guys who started it all, and you meet these guys and you start getting involved. And what were the very first homebrews that you started playing, probably long before we ever considered testing?
That would be Donkey Kong Arcade, which was like a revelation. Because as a young teenager with an Intellivision, the Coleco Donkey Kong was disappointing, and it just seemed like this. I wasn't expecting arcade quality back then, but it could have been better than that. And so the Donkey Kong Arcade was the first homebrew I bought, and I really enjoyed that, and that really helped spark really playing Intellivision more and more and looking into homebrews. And after that, I started becoming more aware of things. And strangely, I think one of the very first homebrews I bought after that was Vanguard from Intellivision Collector.
Okay. That's not that long
ago. That helped. That was my bridge into testing.
That was your bridge into testing.
Yeah, but that I'm kind of jumping ahead because I got into Donkey Kong Arcade, and then I started. But my real introduction to the homebrew community beyond that was Oscar's fantastic programming games for Intellivision book. I read that and started realizing that this is something you can do. You can actually make these games. And wow, okay, that's pretty cool. So it has a lot of tutorials. Yeah. And I managed to make a couple of the games in the book, and I decided to branch out. That's actually the first thing I want to show. That was my real intro into homebrew was trying to replicate something that I thought was missing from the Intellivision at the time. At the time, we didn't have Gorf, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, what if I made what if I could make an Intellivision game that, if not like make a real game, at least make a flagship level that's better than the Atari 2600 version. If you've ever played that, the ship moves across and it's split in the middle, and you have to hit that little target.
Right.
And it dies. It's basically, but you can't damage it any other way. It doesn't do anything.
Gotcha.
Other than that, and then it just kind of shakes and disappears. So I thought I can maybe do something like that. So I did not get far enough in my Intellivision programming career to get into moving tiles and stuff, which is what you really need to make it. So I just did it all in sprites. But did I show you that?
Yeah, absolutely. No better time than present on that. So when you started off, you got the book from Oscar,
right?
And you started programming. So no better time than the present. Let's do that. I'm going to rearrange.
I'm going to shift things around a little bit.
And I'm going to see about which way will I want to do this.
I have a very low-tech system.
Got it.
That's just Jeff.
That's just Jeff. I don't want the one with just Jeff. There we go. Hold on. We'll get it.
Well, I think we should ask the chat, Pete.
What?
Maybe they want to see me real big while Craig plays in a small window.
I've lost Jeff.
Oh no!
What?
He's still here. You just can't see him.
Oh, it's because of the setup. I see.
Okay, so you can see this. So this is a little game demo I put together. That's it has some of the fundamentals of Gorf's flagship level. So I've got the colors, and
wow,
I don't have the sounds, and it's a sprite, so I can't knock the pieces off, but I can damage it to make hitting the reactor easier.
Okay,
like that.
Nice.
I'm gonna get killed, but I can move vertically and horizontally, and I can cancel my shots like you're supposed to be able to do.
Oh yeah, so you hit the button the second time and you refire. And
so this is a fun little thing to put together, but I kind of realized if I was going to do something much more substantial or make a real game, I would have to learn so much more.
Gotcha.
And, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Spinner, could you spin it back around here for? I'm gonna.
There
they go. Move it, everybody. There, perfect. We'll go back over to that afterwards. So, okay, you started off with programming. Who were the first?
Right? Start off with some programming, but yeah, I didn't take it much farther than that. But
who were the first people that you met in the homebrew community? Like publishing community or programming, any of that stuff like that sort of got you into all this?
Luke with Intellivision Collector primarily was the first, and through him met Carlos, and then it kind of spread out to Willie and Oscar, and that's then the people here.
Yep.
But I haven't met anybody in person. I haven't been able to go to PRGE or anything like that, but just this sort of virtual meetings. So
it's a long ways away. It's farther for you than it is for me, although at least you're in the country, right?
Right.
Well, what the blazes was I going to ask you? What the blazes was I going to ask you? I had something right on the tip of my tongue and I lost it. That other thing. So start with Luke. So again, you said it was after Vanguard. So explain to us how that sort of worked out for you. How did it get to that point where you started testing?
Oh, yeah. So Vanguard was the situation there was there was a bug at the end.
Right.
Remember the Gond at the end?
I'm aware, yeah. I know
from the old ads.
Yep.
From Atari.
Yeah.
So the problem, right. Luther
kills the Gond.
Right, that guy. Yeah. I would get to the end of the level, and the Gond would die. And at first I thought, oh, did I have my auto fire on? I got lucky, but it happened again and again and again.
Yeah.
And so I started approaching it more methodically and turned off all my firing and waited to see what happened. And it didn't. It still just died and ended the level. So I think I posted to Atari Age and just said, does anybody else have this issue? And Luke got involved and was really interested in trying to resolve the issue. And you know, it turned into a really cool customer experience thing because he wanted to fix it and send an update and, you know, kind of do a recall. And it was he asked me to basically, he wasn't going to burn the update until I was pleased with the results I was seeing. So he'd send me, you know, an updated version. And there were other couple small things that I noticed and pointed out, like the positioning of the ship when you come back, when you respawn, was too consistent and it didn't take into account where you were. Little things like that. And he got them all fixed and asked me from there, do you want to be part of my testing team? And I said, sure, it sounds great. So, because it was a great experience. It was fun. And
absolutely,
I felt like I was making a difference and stuff. So I went ahead and kind of became part of that.
So I did some background on that. You were playing it on the LTO flash, correct? When you encountered that bug, or right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, because if I'm not mistaken,
I'm sorry.
The issues with that, or was it the other way around?
No, it was a real cartridge.
Oh, a real cartridge.
Yes.
Okay.
But the issue was that the emulators, the problem wasn't happening in the emulators.
The testing we did with emulators, with ROMs, it didn't happen.
Right.
It was only when
you had real hardware.
So every cartridge that went out had that bug in it, basically.
As far as I know, originally.
Yeah. And that's why we have version 2 of Vanguard nowadays. And there was a program out where you could get it replaced for free. But you could also, if you wanted to keep your old one and get the new one, you could get just the cartridge, just the board, the whole thing. But that's why that happened with Vanguard. It was this guy. Where I point to this guy right here. He did it. It's all his fault.
All my fault.
Well, all your fault. You found the bug. But pretty obvious bug. But it just goes to show you the importance of testing, because I don't know, up until that point, have you ever heard of since a bug that occurred only due to the method that you were playing it, like emulation or hard system?
I haven't seen it. No, it was a rare thing.
Very strange, huh?
Yes.
I know at the time it just like, wow, like Luke was concerned, because I mean that was his first game. The way he handled that, which was masterfully, frankly, he did a great job for customer service. Really set the stage for his company going forward, and he hit a home run with it. So everything's great. But man, what a challenge! What a challenge!
To be fair, I do 90% of my testing with real hardware, though. So, but the other 10% is done on this.
Oh, and your Intellivision.
The Intellivision, the Nintendo DSi. And I use this for just if I want to be testing in front of a show or just out in another room or remotely. But it's got save states, which for certain games is really important.
Yes.
If I'm not interested in whether it has a hardware issue or not, and I just want to get to a certain point in the game and test the same thing over and over and over again very quickly, I will use that just to see if I can replicate it easily and kind of stop here and then pick up where I left off in ways that I can't really do with the LTO.
Because, you know, is it a one-off, or is it a every single, like with the Vanguard one, every single time you did it happened? So you could save it right before you got there, and you could pretty much show that every single time it's going to happen. I missed that. Anomalies are more likely to show up in an emulator than the original hardware. Weird. Do we know that to be true? 100%. We don't really know that to be 100% true.
Well, yeah, I think it might be. Part of that might be that emulation isn't perfect.
There you go.
There are some.
So under that logic, then probably, you would have anomalies show up more in emulation. That makes sense.
I would expect it. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Good point, Saboteur. Yeah. Kurt has a good point here. I just want to point out really quick there. So I don't know how you program a game like this and then test it. And Kraig and I will probably have a conversation about that too, about in just a few minutes, because I think it is difficult to program a game and then be your own tester. You need to have those independent eyes go look at the game. So very good point, Kurt, right there. I mean, that's
I've heard that.
Yeah. Hey, DJC, good to see you, man. Creeper's here too, and I didn't say I waved to Creeper, but I didn't say anything. But thanks for being here, Creeper. Haven't talked to you in a long time, man. So let's talk about some of the games that you've tested over the last few years. Okay.
Yeah.
Some of the recent ones. There's some of the recent ones that you've worked on. We're seeing them being released right now, and so hey, let's talk about some of the games. Say about 20. Rattle a few off. Have you tested all of Luke's games, the Intellivision Collector games?
I don't think it's 100%. I don't think I didn't test Dragon Quest.
Okay, yep.
But most of them, yes. Starting, but not. There were a few after Vanguard that were kind of in the pipe that I did not test. That were, but I started testing more consistently with Operation Cloudfire. I think was another one of the big ones.
Right on. So how many hours? Like if you have a game, how much testing will be involved with that game?
It really depends on the game, and some of them are like we're talking about Road Fighter tonight. Road Fighter was relatively light in terms of testing, probably less than 10 hours, 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah.
Montezuma's Revenge was a lot of testing.
A lot of testing.
30 hours plus, 40 hours, something like that, if not more. And because a lot of it is not just playing the game, it's making recordings, it's doing the same thing over and over again and seeing how the game reacts, and that can really add up in terms of time. It can be a lot of time too.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, you think the show must go on. Not bad.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be bad to test, would it? Like
probably not.
Oh, you didn't do that one.
I did not do that one.
Oh, okay, sorry. So let's I'm trying to think earlier. Beachhead. You did test Beachhead, right? Mm-hmm. One of my favorite games. It's one of my favorite games that Luke has out because I love that port from the C64. So talk about that one a little bit because I was involved with testing on that as well.
Okay, that was an interesting one. As I've mentioned in the chats, when you play it, it's such a natural fit for the disc. So it was just really cool to test it out from that perspective. Thanks, Benril. And the issues that came up with Beachhead had a lot to do with memory, with resets, and I hadn't encountered this before, but it was something where things would happen after game over, like the title screen was shifted pixels, and some of the graphics were being. The graphics chip was calling the wrong symbol at some point, like in the caverns. Yeah. And those are so hard to track down because I had video of them happening, which was very fortunate. But it was not something that it was just one of the quirks of the architecture, I guess. It wasn't necessarily something like, and it was probably something that programming it, you wouldn't even expect that sort of thing would happen. I tend to approach testing. So I have a background in human computer interaction, and I've done a lot of usability testing and interface design and things like that. Yep. So I tend to approach games with a sort of beginner's mind mentality when I start, which is let's just pretend I don't know this game from my childhood. Pretend I don't even know the Intellivision. Let me just start sandboxing this and see what happens, right? And see if things surprise me. Or, why did it do that? In usability testing, there was a trick we would sometimes do with a developer. We'd bring them into behind the glass wall, watching a user carrying out a task and getting very frustrated and saying, and the system throws an error, and the developer would just behind the glass with me as I'm running the test would say, well, they're not supposed to do that. oh, okay, then we'll fix it in the manual. That makes no sense.
No,
but it was an eye-opening experience. So trying to get into that mindset where things can surprise you is very important. The other part of testing that's very important to me is approaching things from a behavioral perspective, right? Like this object in the game is supposed to do this. Under what circumstances is it going to do this or not? A good example I thought of with this was the difference between Dig Dug and Mr. Do. So they're very similar games. Mr. Do is inspired by Dig Dug. In Dig Dug, you can drop a rock, right? You go around and you drop a rock, and it always does one thing. It drops and it breaks. If it happens to squish you or an enemy, it does that, but it always drops and breaks. The analog to that rock in Mr. Do is an apple, right? You can make an apple drop. But if an apple drops one level, it sits there and becomes a wall. If it drops 2 levels or more, it breaks.
Right.
If it hits an enemy, it squishes them, unless it's an alpha monster, which eats the apple. So there are all these behaviors for that object that have to be taken into account and have to be tested from all these different angles.
Right.
I sort of have a checklist of, okay, the apple needs to do this and this and this and this, which makes Mr. Do an amazing. I can't believe how complex that game is. But testing it, I needed to do a lot of, this. Does this behavior match the expectations, and is the behavior of the object consistent? That's a big part of testing, and keeping all that in mind.
So many different layers that you have to sort of be cognizant of as you're going through it to see if they're reacting the right way under the right circumstances.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah, and of course, so you guys, Mr. Do, which is just out from Willie. So you've been testing for Luke, you're testing for Willie, you're testing for Oscar directly as programmer, and also, of course, for Carlos. And I just want to bring right now, before we'll probably go back and talk about this a little bit more later, but Luke just brought up the point that Kraig started getting involved with Montezuma testing just this year. But yeah, like Montezuma's Revenge has been in the works now for several years, 3 years now almost. And it's the most tested game, and he's confident that it'll be the best it can be. So I sure feel that way. It's something else. Give us your take on Montezuma right now after having tested as much as you have. And at what stage was it when you started testing that?
I think I started testing it when it was pretty mature. I only based on some video I had seen that you had done at Portland or something, where you were testing it. You were playing an early version of it,
which you see some
see some glitches. Yeah. So it was right around that time, but some of those things had been improved. But it was pretty far along. And as to answer, I think it was Salvatore's question, you ever test by comparing the game with other ports? That was part of it, where we talk about those behaviors. Those behaviors can come from a programmer, or they can come from, program directly saying, I say that this object should behave this way, or looking at an arcade version or a home version and the way it worked. And so yes, there were times when I had to look at the Colecovision version or the Atari 800 version and see if what we were seeing in Montezuma's Revenge was similar, or if it could be improved upon. And in some cases, things have been improved upon. The motion is very smooth on the Intellivision version.
Yes,
it's really slick, and it's not slick in every version. So as a tester, the last thing I want to do is, I'm going to file a report that this should be as creaky as the ColecoVision. No, not like that at all, right? It's a better game.
Fair enough
for all the effort that's been put into it.
Like the difference in Venture. That's always Ladybug's always fetching up, and Ladybug for the Atari Champ Games is smooth as could be. The Intellivision is smooth as could be. So you definitely don't want to replicate the lesser.
Yeah, it's
greater of two evils.
It's really, and it was a big lift. It was a lot of fine tuning, right? Yes. Little behaviors that needed to be tweaked, and it just made things better and better as we went. But I played it when I was a kid, but I don't remember that it was that massive, that it's so many levels, that the pyramid itself is this big. Yeah. And that's just the first pyramid. And then it goes again, and then the darkness sets in, and going through all those rooms to make sure all the exits worked and stuff was very challenging.
Sure. Absolutely. It's just phenomenal. It's like, wow. And I'm going to say this. I think I want to bring this point up right now. I sort of have it later on, but I want to bring the point up right now. You're sacrificing something as a tester as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because when you play this game with that point of view, and I have a sort of different things in my notes here, like what are the philosophical differences that you have to have when approaching a new game as a tester, as opposed to one of us who just approaches a game as a casual player looking to have fun? And yeah, okay, let's start with that. And what I'm getting at, guys, is once you've done this, man, it's awfully hard to flip the channel back to become and play a game and have fun. And that's kind of a sacrifice, because as a tester, you put all these hours into a game. It's pretty hard to sit down at the start and enjoy it nowadays, from start to finish, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right?
it is. It's a shame in a way, because you see these great games being made and you have fun for a while playing them, but then it kind of turns into more like work. Yeah, right. And sometimes you're filing bug reports, and sometimes you're making videos and you're trying to compress the video so that it fits on Atari Age or fits on Facebook or something. And it's all these little things, and just finding a making sure that something you found is replicable, so that the developer can tackle it, is very hard. And it does take some of the fun out of the game. And it isn't like, oh, you're just getting to play a free game. It's not like that. It's a big effort, and it does kind of change your perspective on things. Like I still have fun playing games, but it's rare for me to go back to a game I've tested super thoroughly and just pick it up and have fun with it. I'm kind of burned out. And
when you sit back and look about it, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
a lot of sense. So there's another reason for the ones in the chat who love playing these games to look at a guy like Kraig who does all this work testing and say thank you, because now we get to sit back and enjoy it. And but you obviously enjoy testing too.
I do enjoy it. Yeah, I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it.
So
I do enjoy it, and it is rewarding.
Difference. So you're getting from testing what other people are getting from just casually playing it to a degree,
to some extent. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, Pierre. I guess Pierre was in here earlier, right? How does the Intellivision Mr. Do? I don't want to put you on the spot a little bit here, but how does the Intellivision Mr. Do compare to the Colecovision version? And I'm just going to say it this way, Kraig. It's fun. I love Colecovision Mr. Do. Is Intellivision Mr. Do, which I have videos coming very, very soon, like very soon. How is it? Does it hold up?
It does hold up. I think that there are places in there where it really shines. I mean, for example, the music is incredible. It really got the music great. The Intellivision is a more limited system, and so don't expect it's going to be as much sprite fidelity. That's perfect.
Understood. Absolutely.
But the gameplay is great, and the cutscenes are spot on. Cutscenes look like as good as what I've seen on other systems. So it's as much fun. Thanks, Carlos.
I got 100 boxes kicking around here. I got to open and do a pickup video on. So I'm making myself not playing the game until I open. I wanted to read that Friday. I didn't get a chance to pop that one back on there for a sec, Jeff. I'm not released any games without having Kraig as a tester. Right on. That's non-negotiable. Very happy he's been being spotlight recognized today. He does an awesome job and is a great friend. And thank you for that input.
Thank you, Carlos. That's great to hear.
It's funny, and you're saying these things. I'm going, yeah, that's probably like I did some testing. I did some testing for Carlos and stuff, and I do it with video. Okay, I play the game and I record it while I'm doing it, and I'm just talking and I'm seeing stuff. But they got more from the videos about things that I missed totally, little quirks and glitches that I missed so you have to pick up on them too. Like it's a different state of mind.
Yeah,
when you're playing these games is a totally different state of mind. I'm not very good at it. I'm focused on too many different things, trying to think about videos, thinking about playing games, thinking about having fun, thinking about testing. It's very difficult. You have to have a very dedicated mindset to be very good at what you do, I think. Let's see. Yeah, okay. I guess that was right next to talk about so difficult to enjoy a game after the fact. What point does testing turn the gaming experience into work as opposed to recreation? So like I thought of it this way. It's like with you testing in games, like a person who watches a film as a film critic, are they ever going to be able to sit down and just watch a movie and enjoy it? Probably not, because they're never going to be able to turn off that critical mind.
Yeah.
Are you ever able to turn off your testing mind when you're playing a game, or can you do that? Have you tested any other system than Intellivision, first of all?
Oh, no, not like this, no.
So are you able to play a different system and not even have a testing thought?
No,
are you able to do that
unfortunately now? In fact, it creeps in, because even I didn't know this as a kid, but there are arcade games that have flaws that drive me crazy. Like Frogger is a great arcade game, but it's got some real weird bugs in it that just, as a tester, I just think, how did this get released? How did this make millions of dollars? It's got so many weird quirks to it that shouldn't be there. So I notice this stuff all the time.
Yeah. It's like I said, just in my notes here, I put about like it's just when you're approaching a hobby like this with a point of view, like you're a tester, you're looking at these games, you're gonna be testing it no matter what. Here, play this game and have fun with it. Don't want to hear a word from you. You're still going to test it in your own mind. These when you're making videos, like I can't just get something and say, oh great, the new game's here. No, it's got to sit here unopened until I make a stupid video. Right? Opening this thing is part of the, and that's why I have, like, I'm sitting here looking right now at 15 packs. Jeff, did you realize that I have a Evercade versus Founders Edition sitting over there? I haven't opened yet because I haven't got to the unboxing video yet.
I hadn't heard of that, Pete.
So state of mind, my Atari 2600 pre-release, bought it pre-release, still in the freaking Amazon package because I haven't done the video yet. So it's the same thing. Once you get a certain mindset, it's very hard to jump out of that mindset. All right. So without any further ado, let's see, we're getting into it. Why don't we take a look, spin it around here and bring up Road Fighter. I call Road Warrior. Yeah. Mel Gibson's in the back, Road Fighter, and see how it goes. Let's take a look at that. So this is just a sample. I'm going to put the other screen up again, and Kraig is going to show us just sort of what he's looking at, what he's thinking when he's testing a game.
Sure.
Fix this up here. There we go. Oh, that's good. You get that screen. Maybe if you turn your other screen off for a second, the one that's behind you, because that's just the glare in the middle. Yeah. Or even just throw a piece of paper over it or something.
How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to demonstrate a bit about what it's like to approach a game from a testing perspective. I talked a little bit about the philosophy of that a minute ago. And it's, to be honest, it's sometimes it's not real exciting. It's because this is, I'm just trying to remember when I first got this one, I would test the parameters. This is parameter testing.
Right.
This is just, can I do something as naive as just driving off the road? Because that's something that should definitely not happen, and it's not happening, which is good. And I'm losing fuel the way I'm supposed to. Yep. Fuel is empty, and that's game over.
Fair enough. I guess you're right. I never would think to do that, but that's absolutely
one of the things in this that I managed to get was holding this screen. This is the most outrun screen I've seen on Intellivision. And it used to disappear way too quickly for my taste. Please, let's see that longer before it goes back. So we got that in there, which is great. So again, so it looks like some of the car's behaviors are doing what they're supposed to do, meaning I can't just drive off the road and go into a barn or whatever building that is. So I want to catch up now to the other cars. And in this one is real important because I was talking about those behaviors. Each car has its own personality in this game.
Right.
Some of them just drive in a straight line. Some of them try to block you. And some of them are more aggressive than others. And so that was a big part of early testing, was making sure that those behaviors were correct. And then I would test. I mean, I'm not testing this real in terms of the driving skill requests, because this is easy mode, which lets you recover from your skids much easier, which is a big part of the gameplay. But on easy, you recover very quickly.
Yes.
So while I'm doing this, I'm also keeping an eye on things like, is the fuel gauge dropping consistently, commensurate with how much driving I'm doing?
Right.
And when I crash, does it drop the correct level? There were a few tweaks that were needed there.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good in terms of what it's showing you now, but that was an early part of it. So I would film this just on an iPad next to me, and then I would send the videos or trim them down so that they could be shared. Pretty straightforward, but it's there were a few things that it's not going to work here because the game's very mature. But one of the things that happened early was I would be driving along, and one of the competitors would be driving in the sand here by the palm trees.
Oh, okay.
And that was hard to track down. It's very hard to capture because it was already a pretty mature game by the time I was testing it. So it didn't happen very often, but it was happening. And eventually it was something they were overcorrecting when they shouldn't be. What it ultimately came down to, remember this parameter testing I was talking about?
Yes, yeah.
This doesn't apply to the other cars. This only applies to me. They don't run into the road and crash, turns out. So if they can get over there, they not anymore, but at the time they could cross the street. They could cross out of the road and into the side
curb area. Yeah.
Right. So that was something that needed to be fixed, and it got fixed. But this was just my acceleration isn't as good as theirs. But once the behaviors of the cars was nailed down, and the fact that they weren't their driving patterns were corrected, the game got smooth very quickly. This is such a good scroller and such a good smooth driving game. I was really excited to see this because there's just a paucity of good racing games on the Intellivision. And one thing I really liked about this is that I've never liked the auto racing, but this has some of the nice 3D overhead.
Don't say that. Jeff loves auto racing.
No, sorry, Jeff, but it's not. I'm not a big fan of it. Maybe it's just because I'm no good at it.
Craig, I'm with you 100% there.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna just see if I can get a little bit better here, and not just crash in every.
I'm trying to think what other games are even like this. Like you get the one from Triple Action, you have auto racing. Neither one is like remotely compares.
No. And pole position's disappointing.
Oh yeah, and Turbo, same thing.
Yeah, so this is one of the absolute better racing games for the Intellivision.
Saboteur is a very interesting question there for you, Craig. Does testing involve trying to do unintended things with the software? Like I would make lakes on the islands in Utopia, for example.
Oh, part of it is, yeah. I mean, one of the things that I do is I test the buttons. I'm not doing it right now, but I test all the button combinations, because one thing that and this is a programmer could give you a better answer to this. I didn't run into this when I was dabbling with homebrew gaming programming myself, is that sometimes the keypads will give you unintended control consequences. They'll do things that you weren't expecting them to do. So I'll often test all the buttons. I'll test for pausing behaviors. Some games support pause, some of them don't.
Yep.
But yeah, it's always trying to a lot of it is testing things that you didn't think should happen, and seeing if they do or not. So yes.
Fair
so
enough.
There's my checkpoint.
Kurt says it reminds me of Bump and Jump without the jump, and it's also much more smooth. Craig.
Yeah,
Kurt.
I mean, I have a soft spot in my heart for Bump and Jump because it's one of those arcade games.
Yeah.
But the driving in this is much better, and it's faster and it's more responsive. You don't have that little wiggly animation, which is so cute, but that's just part of Bump and Jump. You don't want that here. So There's a truck I'm trying to pass. Okay. So yeah, this reminds me of Bump and Jump there when you're going over the water, but without the jumping. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I do have a brake. I'm not really using the brake very much. Yep. So they it's not like Spy Hunter. I can't drive them, or Bump Jump. I can't drive them off the road. It's just a consequence to me, which is the way the original game works. So this does have hazards that come out. There's water puddles and oil spills that slow you down or spin you. Boy, I keep hitting that. See that the behavior of that pink car. I would have my eye on that very early in testing, because it's meant to be the one who is always trying to block you. And
it's a good
this
point.
is quite a journey.
If X Rally was only this smooth,
I think, yeah, X Rally suffers from the fact that it's got that radar.
Yes,
I think so. It can't scroll the whole screen like this can.
That's right.
For what it is, it does a great job. But no, there's no beating Intellivision hardware scrolling when it can be used like this. It's phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's so much better than other systems at the time.
Craig, I got a question for you. I know you're using Intellivision 2. Do you test on both the original and Intellivision 2, or does it matter?
It doesn't really matter. I think the list of games that the Intellivision 2 can't handle is only, what is the Electric Company or something?
Yeah.
The Intellivision 2 is very compatible, so I haven't found any big issues with it. I used to test on a 2609, but it's so big, it took up all my room, and so many games have come out with the ECS that using the different sound channels like Operation Cloudfire did, that I really want to have that ECS plugged in, and having the original Intellivision up here was just too big in my setup. I have one, but I don't always test with it.
Carlos says here, if there's a bug that happens in obscure circumstances, rest assured, Craig will find it. As a programmer, it's important to embrace the feedback and act natural reflexes to get defensive. Then Ed, there you go. Because I could understand that the reflex would be to be defensive, but this, what a great help it would be for. Let's get back. Did we ever say, we sort of alluded to it earlier? I don't know how far we get into it, but when we talked about the perspective, and we talked about how it would be very difficult for a programmer to test their own game.
Yes, it is. It's the similar reason to when I was doing usability research. We had that job. We didn't ask the developers to try to do that. They're too close to it,
right? And
they are system experts. As usability researchers, and as that's a homebrew tester, I'm not the expert. I'm not as close to it, and I kind of see it as my job. They want me to find things, so I really put time into it and tried my best to find things that are wrong, or not things that are wrong, but things that could be improved with just a tweak here or there.
So cool. Well, why don't you show us? We got Luke's blessing. Why don't you show us Montezuma? Now, right. Montezuma, I want to have a little disclaimer that this is on an LTO. The only digital availability of this is for testing purposes only, so that's why it will not be released digitally.
Fair enough.
But it has to be tested. I just wanted to point that out to everybody.
So yeah, this was the biggest lift. Road Fighter was pretty straightforward. I can't believe that this fits on an Intellivision. This game is so big. It's massive. It has so many levels and so many things to do. And it's just so nice to play this. It kind of it's another one of those games that's a natural fit for the disc. That, back in the day people didn't know that, but similar to Burger Time, Intellivision Burger Time, half the charm is just the way the disc works. It's better than the arcade in terms of how it grabs onto ladders and stuff.
Right.
So
it is too. Absolutely, it is.
It's just really nice to play.
And when you guys get to play this game, it is smooth. So smooth.
Mm-hmm.
It does look better, Salvatore. It's been tweaked. It's been improved for sure for what you and I saw that day. Salvatore was running the camera for me when I did the video on it at PRGE in 2023.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I met Salvatore. That's why I say the pride and joy of Portland, Oregon, because he met us at PRGE.
I'm kind of. I think I have to go use these keys somewhere.
Greg, I think you need to be a pretty good gamer to be a tester as well.
I think, yeah, it helps. If I let me see. It does help. You have to have. See, I'm not being a very good gamer right now, but yeah, you have to have some experience and know how to do these things. I can't remember if I think I can't make that jump. I think I've tried it. There's so many times this poor character has died at my hands in this game. Poor guy. Wow. That's going to catch me. Oh, laser gates.
Yeah. I know that spot right there too. The laser gates just don't, and you have to have that sword when you get over to the, not this screen, but the next screen, or you die then too. Unless you know a way by it.
I already just used my sword. So yeah, you're right. You're right. This is the one, but I could just,
get off that screen when you come back onto the screen and jump or get underneath the skull. The timing is just perfect that the laser gate is always open.
Oh, that was a bad jump on my part.
But I'm telling you guys, this is an incredibly smooth playing game. And I had a few issues with the video on my RCA to HDMI adapter. These issues are being identified as well, what's going on with it, and being rectified. So a little heads up on that too. I'll be waiting to do another video on Montezuma after all the issues are resolved with that. But it's not going to delay the release because that's strictly a hardware issue, not a software issue. The game, when you play it on an RCA through RCA jacks on a CRT television, is beautiful.
Whoops, I forgot that this is just one of the quirks of the actual old school game is my inventory's full, so I can't get those things. It's one of those things that's there we go. Now I can't jump too high, or when they disappear, I'll die. Okay, I think I got it.
There you go.
Now, do I have enough keys to get through this thing now? Yeah.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Leap of faith. All right.
Right on. It is Salvatore for sure. So when you pick this up, you're being asked to play this for the first time as a tester, okay? It's at a stage where there's still work to be done, but for the most part, you're not looking at glaring errors. You're only going to be able to pick up, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, all the glaring issues, the easy stuff, the low-hanging fruit to fix are taken care of. Man, you really have to be on your toes to pick up the anomalies, right?
It's refinement. Yeah, it's a lot of refinement. It's things like, little things like when I turn around here, do I fall or not? Yeah, right. Little tiny down to the pixel refinements sometimes that were issues but are fine now. Yeah, and little collision things, the differences between how an amulet, which looks like a hammer, affects the snakes versus the spiders.
Yeah,
little things like that. Yeah, and I had a map. I think it might have been based on the Colecovision version to try to make sure that all the exits where they were where they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
There might have been one stray wall that needed to be removed, but yeah, it was in pretty good shape, and it was lots of.
But you said you put 30 or 40 hours in as it was.
Yes.
And could you give me a guesstimate if you had have started the testing from the very beginning to the final stages?
Well, like you said, the low-hanging fruit would have been the easy part. That maybe an additional 5 to 10.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, probably.
And I mean, you talk about looking for the pixel to pixel, spot to spot. That's each and every screen.
Well, some of it was generalizable, but there were some places where I would find an issue on one screen, and then I would have to use the map to try to find a room that looked very similar to it.
Right. Okay.
So, for example, another room that had the chains or ropes, I forget what they are.
Yeah.
Like one next to a short one. Oops. And I would have to go to that room and try it and make sure that the issue, if it was solved in one, that it was solved in the other. Or if the pulse that you slide down, that if the sliding behavior was perfect in one room, was it still problematic in a different room? So little things like that is what makes the time add up.
Very impressive. But the game's impressive too. And because of that, I mean,
yeah.
Because of the work people like you put into it.
Yeah. I'm not paying much attention, so I'm dying.
Well, no, I understand completely. You're listening. This is a game where you have to focus.
Yeah. Yes.
It's pretty precise, some of the moves in this. It's very difficult to make a video on as well when you're talking and doing things like that, because you're just going to make mistakes, right?
Yes.
I have to focus. I find that with getting a little bit better at it, but with any game that I'm making, if I'm trying to talk my way through it and describe it, it just takes away from the gameplay, which you know what, that's fine. It's fun. I love doing it. So it's the same thing, but that's why you always have a hard game when you're trying to do something like this. Wow. So why don't we have we got a few minutes left. Why don't we what else do I have here? Oh, that's okay. Let's get some other questions from the chat. Okay, we're going to start one off from Carlos. What's the most bizarre game you ever found? But he says down below, bug. What's the most bizarre bug that you ever found in a game? They put you on the spot there. And maybe talk about some of the more obscure games as well that you did. That you may not be as familiar with. I guess we won't talk about any games that have not been announced yet. You worked on a few, right? There are a few that you worked on that haven't been announced or released yet, correct? Road Fighter?
Maybe one.
Okay. Right on.
No, not a lot. Yeah, I hope more come. I want to keep doing this. One of the more bizarre ones was that memory issue in Beachhead, where because it wasn't something that you would get in normal gameplay. Right. Someone who was playing the game could get all the way through it and turn the Intellivision off, would never see this bug because it only occurred when you reset the system. And I mean reset on Intellivision too, right? Reset, but without turning it all the way off. There was a weird bug where two graphical problems would happen. One of them, I think I mentioned before, was that the title screen was shifted over by about 10 pixels. Wow. And then when you got to the cavern screen, sometimes when an explosion happened, the graphics chip would turn it into a $sign, like the big $sign from Lock and Chase would be in the middle of the cavern. That was very strange, and it was so hard to replicate. I finally got it replicated and was able to convince the programmer that this really happens. And it turned out it was just some weird memory holdover in the Intellivision 2. And I do not know how an emulated system would have handled that. It might have been because an emulator might clear memory so much differently than a real system.
There you go.
That it might have not been caught again. So that's probably the most bizarre.
That is pretty cool. Any other questions in there, guys? Swing yourself back around here, Craig.
Okay.
And let's see. Salvatore, of course, says the only game that he would be a good tester at would be a port of Arcade Bagman. And you would be at that. Did you watch the Bagman episode, Craig?
I saw it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I like that game, but I'm terrible at it, and it was good to learn some things.
It's interesting. It's a real strange game, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question from Metal Torso. Hey, Craig, does it bother you when players play in television games as poorly as Jeff?
Poor Jeff.
Come on, Torso. I was going to say, how's married life treating you again? But no, we've been there, done that. No. So, man, I think Jeff will like Road Fighter.
Yeah.
That That looked good. It's fast. Not only is it smooth, but it's fast.
It is.
You kind of need fast when you're playing a racer.
But it's just the right level of speed. I mean, I'm older now, but I try to play like arcade Spy Hunter.
Yeah.
Shifting into high gear, it throws you halfway up the screen and you have no time to react when other cars come down. This isn't that fast. It's not obnoxiously fast.
Gotcha. Fair enough. On that note, though, as well, what it shows to me is they're not very far away from like having a Spy Hunter smoothly put on the.
Could be done, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, and frankly, I'll be quite honest. I really believe it's in the works somewhere in somebody's. Well, it seems to me you might even find videos on it in some of the programmers. I don't know. There's always a few games. What do they call that when they put a video out?
Teaser.
Teaser, but it's a notice of. I can't remember what it's called. Shoot. Anyway, it's a little sample of a game saying that sort of this is in the works. This is all we have. It's sort of like the Contra. Remember the Contra one that came out? There was the first level only.
Oh yes.
It's like wow. It was bloody hard.
Yes.
Maybe it couldn't be any easier on the system because it's never really gone any further. But I mean, for us to get Intellivision,
oh yeah,
stuff like that, it's amazing what you can do. So let's look at. Give us some other games that you've tested. Obviously, you didn't. You tested most of Luke's games. If I was going to guess, you didn't test Dragon's Quest, and I know you didn't test Poker Risque.
No, before my time.
Nobody tested Poker Risque, I don't think. But what are some of the other ones for him that you've tested? Operation Cloudfire. You said you did that. So let's talk to us about that one a little bit because that is a pretty friggin' awesome game.
Yeah, that was a real neat surprise. I characterized it at one point to someone as a Zen Metroidvania, right? Where you don't have any weapons. You're just peacefully going through, solving these issues and stuff, and getting keys and moving through doors. And it's a great title for the Intellivision. That one was a lot of refinement because of getting the motion just right, grabbing the ladders. What does the character do when he gets to the top of the ladder? The jumps, I think, needed some refinement. But it was in pretty good shape. That was a lot. That was one was really cool to test because it invited exploration.
Yes,
and that but there was a lot of that early parameter testing, right? It's making sure that when I jump off this level, it's going to kill me. Does it kill me consistently on each screen, or do I find that some jumps are different than others? There was a lot of testing around that kind of thing. Like because that's the main mechanic of the game. You don't fight, you don't have guns, you jump and you climb.
Yes.
And so getting that right was
had to be consistent, or else it would be frustrating.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think about it. I tested on that one as well quite a bit, and that was one of the big things. Like quite early, I didn't do nearly as much as you did, but just up and down the ladders, trying to get the ladder to feel right, so you could I would get early renditions. I get stuck on the ladders, right, stuff like that, and that's the low hanging fruit as well to find. Right, that's easy. Anybody can find that. Kraig tested Cloudfire's double jump extensively. Yeah, that was for sure. There was another point back there. Where was it? Oh, Kurt just asked real quick. Will Luke put both games out at the same time? It'll be very, very, very close, if not the exact same time, Kurt. It's not very far away, and I'll let you know when it's coming. We're just waiting a couple of things. The games are ready. It's just the things to go with them, and it'll be out. So this is not a long delay. They will be out soon. And just when they are ready to go on sale, I will be putting out a video on it. So you'll be able to get them both at the same time to save on shipping. Frankly, that you will be able to. I'm sure. I'll be surprised if you can't. I know you can. It won't be if it's not the exact same time. It's going to be awfully close. Do we get Road Fighter for free since we're all in the chat? No, but Road Fighter is going to be available digitally, Chuck. So at least that's a good deal, right?
Nice.
And right on. So tell me, what other games other than Mr. Do have you done for Electronite or for Willie?
The Napoleonic Wars.
Oh yes, yeah.
I did some light testing for that.
Right.
I don't remember if we were both in. Sometimes I forget the publisher. We were both involved somewhat in Yar's Revenge, but I don't remember what the
way back when. Yep, absolutely. I did a lot with that because Yar's Revenge I played ad nauseum as in the other, and then when that first came out, I did a bunch of videos on it, and I did a lot of testing on it as well. I listened to you though, and I went into it like, just want to test a game? Sure. Play it. Oh, that doesn't work right. That doesn't work. Nothing was refined with my testing. You have a very I appreciate your state of mind about doing, but like I said, you're focused on the testing, but you've sacrificed that because now when you play a game, you're focused on testing. I'm looking at it from so many different directions. I probably would never be a good tester, but I can find the low-hanging fruit, but
well, it takes all of us to build the community, right?
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. A good way to put it. There are all kinds of different spots. Let's see. Kurt should not be in a hurry. From what I understand, he has quite a backlog of homebrew games to play. That he does. That earlier, he's got over 170 now. So that's something else. That's great. That's great. How about, have you done any testing for Rev yet?
I don't believe so. I mean, I don't know every programmer I test for.
Yeah.
But so it's possible, or publisher. But
Television Revolution. Yeah.
I don't believe so.
And then who else will we have? But you also work with Carlos. And of course, different games of Carlos's have gone different places. Oscar.
Well, Yar's Revenge.
If you've tested for Oscar, with Oscar, okay, I'm sorry, cut you off. Tell me what games have you done for Oscar, just independently for Oscar before they were released?
Like Thunder Soldier.
Oh yeah.
I'm probably missing one, Mr. Do. I can't remember others.
Gotcha. Right. Thunder Soldier was quite a game.
There might be some, yeah.
Yeah, right on. So where were they going with that? So did you ever, this is what I'm thinking, because you started off by reading his book and doing some programming in your interactions as being a tester for him. You ever had a conversation with Oscar about programming and stuff? Because who better to ask about programming?
I know, right? Only informally on the programming forum on Atari Age.
Right.
It's like that, just a little bit about that Gore flagship thing I put together.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Well, that's cool.
He probably doesn't remember. It was a long time ago, and I didn't really take it very far. So
no, but that's there's a lot of games out there like that. So on that note as well, with the Gorf that you did, what do you think about the Gorf that's out from CollectorVision?
I'm sorry. I wish I had tested it. I wish I could have tested it.
You wish you could have tested that. Good. So what do you see with like?
Well, to me,
we like it. I like it, but it could be better.
Well, the two main things are it's horizontal motion only, which is not Gorf to me.
Okay. Yeah.
Back and forth. You can't go up and down. And the flagship level has some, bugs where you can hit the reactor and your shot goes right through it. Yep. So those things, I have it, but they and I can't understand the voices. I have it in televoice, but the voices don't sound intelligible to me. So, like I said, I think it's a kind of I think it could have been better.
Yeah, I that's a pretty fair assessment, really. But Chuck asked, "Did you test the underpants that run around with the long socks in Thunder Soldier?" He's played through the whole game for sure. Chuck has.
Oh, are you talking about the enemies?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't provide any feedback about things looking like underpants, if that's what you're asking.
These underpants have Kraig Finstad's official seal of approval.
Right. I think the thing I remember testing about Thunder Soldier that was in the early versions is the trajectories of the mortars they fire in the second level needed some work. So we got that taken care of. So things, so you could predict where it was going to land based on how it launched. Some of things like that. But yeah, it's a solid game.
Right. Salvatore asked, did you test Pandora incident? And if so, specifically the save feature, which
I did not test the Pandora incident.
Fantastic game, eh? I don't know exactly what you mean about the save feature, Salvatore. Unfortunately, I'm not sure exactly what you mean there. If you want to type it out, the underpants level is his favorite.
That's great. I'll have to revisit Thunder Soldier with Chuck's characterization in mind.
Who was responsible for creating the goofy looking bosses? I think that's the same conversation. Oscar made everything. I did all the graphics and stuff in it, so that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. What the heck? I actually did Pokemon on my phone to collect them, but it was not good, Torso. I don't know what Torso and Kurt are having a conversation. Now we're interfering. Okay. All right. That's a good spot to leave it off here. We've been on an hour and a half. Went by like crazy.
Went by fast, yeah.
I think I told you, I said, our goal is to go for 90 minutes and say, well, you think, oh, how are we going to get to 90 minutes? I said, we'll be there and we'll go, it's already been an hour and a half. We're overtime. And it's like, oh my God, it actually happened. It's like, it just slides by. So amazing. Kraig for testing, customer graphics, Aiden for music, Dream Team. I like it. Give me the game to promote. I love it. Right on, Kraig. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this, because it's a really interesting subject that affects everybody who collects these games.
Yeah.
And without the testing, extensive testing and thorough testing of these games, of course, they wouldn't be the quality that they are, because we have a pretty good quality in the old Intellivision Homebrew world nowadays.
That's the big differentiator, I think. That's what makes the homebrews are so good for the system.
Yeah, for sure. So, Jeffrey, thank you, man,
thanks for
watching the chat and take care of everything. And of course, we'll get a special copy of our auto racing just for you as a special thanks. So that's great. And guys, we'll be back next week. Kraig will be back in the chat, but maybe Kraig will pop in again sometime again in the future. We'll talk about some other stuff as things happen. And this has been really great. I really appreciate it. So everybody in the chat, have a great week.
And thanks for all the kind comments in the chat.
You deserve them all, man. You deserve them all. Look what I do. There it is. Thanks for your input and testing, Kraig. Keep up the wonderful work. Thanks, Pete, Jeff, and Kraig. Awesome. That's excellent. And guys, we will sign off. I can get over to the other screen here. I don't have to worry about an echo because I didn't share my screen. All right. So on that note, thank you again, Kraig. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everybody in the chat. We will see you in the next video. Night all.
Good night.
Hi, I'm Sergio from Intellivision Brazil, and you're watching Papa Pete, the old guy gamer.
If you haven't grown up by the age of 50, you don't have to. If you haven't grown up by the age of